kunja bihari. Gopi jana vallabha girivaradari. Gopi jana vallabha girivaradari. Yashoda nandana braja janaranjana. Yashoda nandana braja janaranjana. Yamuna tira vanachari. Yamuna tira vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi jana vallabha girivaradari. Gopi jana vallabha girivaradari. Yashoda nandana braja janaranjana. Yashoda nandana braja janaranjana. Yamuna tira vanachari. Yamuna tira vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Mayapur Dham ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Go Premanandi. Text 42 is on the board. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Before starting the Srimad Bhagavatam class, I'd like to beg the blessings of all the Vaishnavas in the room, that I can speak according to the parampara and not deviate. Hare Krishna. So we're actually going to cover, by the request of the organizers of the Bhagavatam class, 4 verses. On the board is text 42, so that's the verse we'll read together. And then we will go back to texts 38, 39, 40, 41. I won't read all the purports, also as per the request of the organizers, but I'll read one of the complete purports in addition to the purport for 42. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, Text 42. Bhuvarloka kalpitaḥ padbhyāṁ bhuvarloko nābhitaḥ svarloka kalpito mūrdhnā iti loka-kalpanā bhūrloka kalpitaḥ padbhyāṁ bhuvarloko nābhitaḥ svarloka kalpito mūrdhnā iti loka-kalpanā bhūrloka kalpitaḥ padbhyāṁ bhuvarloko nābhitaḥ svarloka kalpito mūrdhnā iti loka-kalpanā. Vaishnavas, please chant. Loka-kalpitaḥ padbhyāṁ lokosya nābhitaḥ svarloka kalpito mūrdhnā iti va loka-kalpanā. Bhurloka kalpita padbhyāṁ. Iti va loka-kalpanā. Bhuvarloka kalpita padbhyāṁ. Bhuvarloka nābhitaḥ. Svarloka kalpito mūrdhnā. Tiva loka-kalpanā. Bhuvarloka kalpita padbhyāṁ. Bhuvarloko nābhitaḥ. Svarloka kalpito mūrdhnā. Iti va loka-kalpanā. Bhuvarloka kalpita padbhyāṁ. Bhuvarloko nābhitaḥ. Svarloka kalpito mūrdhnā. Vaishnavis. Bhuvarloka kalpita padbhyāṁ. Bhuvarloko nābhitaḥ. Svarloka kalpito mūrdhnā. Loka-kalpanā. Bhuvarloka kalpita padbhyāṁ. Bhuvarloko nābhitaḥ. Kalpito mūrdhnā. Bhuvarloka. The entire planetary system from Pātāla to the earthly planetary system. Kalpita. Imagined. Padbhyāṁ. Situated on the legs. Bhuvarloka. The Bhuvarloka planetary system. Asya. Of the universal form of the Lord. Nābhitaḥ. Out of the navel abdomen. Svarloka. The higher planetary system, beginning with the heavenly planets. Kalpita. Imagined. Mūrdhnā. From the chest to the head. Iti. Thus. Va. Either. Loka. The planetary systems. Kalpana. Imagination. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Others may divide the whole planetary system into three divisions, namely the lower planetary systems on the legs up to the earth, the middle planetary systems on the navel, and the upper planetary systems, Svarloka, from the chest to the head of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Short purport. The 3 divisions of the complete planetary systems are here mentioned. 14 are imagined by others, and that is also explained. So now we are going to go back to text 38. I will read the translation for 38 and 39, and then I will read the text and purport for 40-41. Text 38. The lower planetary systems up to the limit of the earthly stratum are said to be situated in his legs. The middle planetary systems, beginning from Bhuvarloka, are situated in his navel, and the still higher planetary systems, occupied by the demigods and highly cultured sages and saints, are situated in the chest of the Supreme Lord. Text 39. From the forefront of the chest up to the neck of the universal form of the Lord are situated the planetary systems named Janalok and Tapolok, whereas Satyalok, the topmost planetary system, is situated on the head of the form. The spiritual planets, however, are eternal. Text 40 and 41. Translation, and then I'll read the purport. My dear son Narada, know from me that there are 7 lower planetary systems out of the total 14. The first planetary system, known as Atala, is situated on the waist. The second, Vitala, is situated on the thighs. The third, Sutala, on the knees. The fourth, Talatala, on the shanks. The fifth, Mahatala, on the ankles. The sixth, Rasatala, on the upper portion of the feet. And the seventh, Pātāla, on the soles of the feet. Thus, the Virat form of the Lord is full of all planetary systems. Purport. Modern enterprisers, the astronauts who travel in space, may take information from Srimad Bhagavatam that in space there are 14 divisions of planetary systems. The situation is calculated from the earthly planetary system, which is called bhuvarloko. Above bhuvarloko is bhuvarloka, and the topmost planetary system is called Satyaloka. These are the upper 7 lokas, or planetary systems. And similarly, there are 7 lower planetary systems, known as Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, and Pātāla lokas. All these planetary systems are scattered over the complete universe, which occupies an area of 2 billion times 2 billion square miles. The modern astronauts can travel only a few thousand miles away from the Earth, and therefore their attempt to travel in the sky is something like child's play on the shore of an expansive ocean. The moon is situated in the 3rd status of the upper planetary system, and in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam we should be able to know the distant situation of the various planets scattered over the vast material sky. There are innumerable universes beyond the one in which we are put, and all these material universes cover only an insignificant portion of the spiritual sky, which is described above as Sanatan Brahmalok. The Supreme Lord very kindly invites the intelligent human beings to return home back to Godhead in the following verse of the Bhagavad Gita 8:16. Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravartino arjuna mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanma na vidyate. Beginning from Satyaloka, the topmost planet of the universe, situated just below the eternal Brahmalok as described above, all the planets are material, and one's situation in any of the many material planets is still subject to the laws of material nature, namely birth, death, old age, and disease. But one can get complete liberation from all the above-mentioned material pangs when one enters into the eternal Brahmaloka, Sanatan atmosphere, the kingdom of God. Therefore, liberation, as contemplated by the speculative philosophers and the mystics, is possible only when one becomes a devotee of the Lord. Anyone who is not a devotee cannot enter into the kingdom of God. Only by attainment of a service attitude in the transcendental position can one enter into the kingdom of God. Therefore, the speculative philosophers, as well as the mystics, must first of all be attracted to the devotional cult before they can factually attain liberation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada is giving us such a clear understanding of life. And here he's describing the different possibilities that the living entity has. God is asking a question. What do you want? And the living entity is responding. This is what I want. And God says, okay. Ye yata mam prapadyante tangs tataiva bhajami aham mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. Krishna is reciprocating with every soul. The souls are desiring and Krishna is reciprocating. So there's two broad possibilities. One possibility is to be sane and to live in the eternal realm as a soul, home, where souls belong. And most souls, they take that option. They say, I'm a soul. I belong in the spiritual realm with Krishna, with Vishnu. Doing what? Doing what souls do, which is loving purely, serving purely, taking their natural position as humble, tiny, glorious servants of Krishna, servants of the Lord. But the soul has free will. So there's another option, which some souls opt for. Some souls think, why? Why should I serve Krishna? Let me try my luck out independent of Krishna. Why should Krishna be the center of reality? Why not me? So there's a place for those souls. That's the material sphere. That's what the material world is. It's a facility given by Krishna to us, conditioned souls, to try to fulfill this ridiculous fantasy, this foolishness of trying to be God. And one can just imagine the amount of anxiety that will produce. A tiny soul, 1/10,000th the size of a tip of a hair, trying to be the unlimited soul. It's a perfect formula for anxiety. Trying to be the controller, trying to be the enjoyer. And that's what everyone in the material world is experiencing. Tremendous anxiety. Prabhupada says, the hard struggle for existence. Of course, there's different realms of material existence. And some souls in the material world are experiencing life as first-class prisoners, temporarily. Temporarily. We've all been there. And right now there are souls who are in the higher planets, in the realms of enjoyment, svarloka. And if you tell them abrahma bhuvanaloka, they're very intelligent. They won't it won't quite click with them. They won't quite get it. Because they get it philosophically, theoretically. They're very wise in many ways. But they're living in such comfort, with such enjoyment. They don't feel the pangs of material existence like the souls who are in the lower stratosphere. So in that respect, they're cursed. What looks like a blessed life, right? The thing that everyone aspires for. What is everyone aspiring for in the material world? A life of comfort, a cushioned life with a beautiful body and a beautiful spouse, or beautiful, forget spouse, partners, right? I want to imitate Krishna. Lots of wealth, being in a nice, beautiful environment where everyone else is also quite nice, where the interactions are pleasant, not full of discord and quarrel and hypocrisy and cheating. This is what people aspire for. Let me have that life. So those souls have that life, the life that everyone wants, and it's a curse. It's a curse because there's no impetus for getting out. There's no impetus. There's no burning experience there, practically speaking. There's some problems, but those problems are dim in comparison to the enjoyment. Dravida Prabhu was one of the great souls in our movement. He always used to say that there's two things. There's Durga Devi behind us with her trident. She's riding on her lion, right? Lion. And she's got her trident. What is the trident? Threefold miseries. Adhyatmika, adhibautika, adhidaivika. She's poking the living entity from behind. And the living entity is just trying to be happy and peaceful and enjoy. And always from behind, the threefold miseries are coming and inflicting themselves. That's one side. And in front of us, what is there? There's Krishna playing his flute, attracting us away from the material world. Both things have to be there. Both things. One thing is not sufficient. Just to experience the pains of life, that's not sufficient. To become disgusted with the material world, that's not sufficient. The impersonalists are also disgusted with the world. They're disgusted with it. They've understood. Gyanis, they're not stupid. They figured it out. Oh, this world, it's a booby trap. There's no possibility of lasting happiness here. They're gyanis. They have knowledge, they have intelligence. But they are not willing, or they haven't been exposed to the beauty of Krishna because they're infected by a disease in the heart. The souls in this world have two diseases. Everyone has two diseases. One disease is the desire to exploit matter. Come out of the womb and look around, and what's there to enjoy? Right? This attitude of enjoyment is prominent in the heart of the conditioned soul. The sense objects are all there, and the mind and the senses are saying, for my enjoyment. And the mind and senses are naturally linked to the sense objects of this world. It's a natural relationship. So if the sense objects are there, the senses just get pulled towards those sense objects based on the modes of nature. One person's poison is another person's nectar. So the souls are madly pursuing material enjoyment. There's such a strong bond and attraction to the material energy. And that's cultivated over lifetimes. Lifetimes and lifetimes of cultivating that same attitude, that same mentality. So it's the default position. It's just natural. And then some souls, they come to understand, that leads to suffering by their own experience and by observing everyone else. That's how we learn, by our own experience and by observing what's happening elsewhere. We see this person who's achieved all the material successes. Why did he put a gun to his head and blow his head off? He had everything everyone wants. So, should I try to get his position so I can also be miserable? So I can also be on a regiment of drugs from morning till evening? To wake up, I need to take drugs. To go to sleep, my mind is so disturbed. These are successful people. The people who reached the top, the pinnacle of material life in this world. They can't go to sleep. The thing which the simple villager, with nothing, goes in the field and plows and does a little work, comes home, he can sleep. He's sleeping, snoring peacefully. That super successful person having a tough time sleeping, riddled by all sorts of anxieties. That's the tendency. So the jnani thinks, no, that's not the way to live. One has to renounce this world. But then there's the second disease in the heart, envy of Krishna. Why? Why Krishna should be God? I want to be God. Okay, I've given up trying to be God through the material thing, trying to get the big position, trying to be the famous this or the famous that or the... I give up that. But still, I want to be God. And then the teacher comes, and the teacher says, you are God. You've just forgotten. You're that special type of God with amnesia. They've created a new definition for God, the God who forgets. And that God who's forgotten, he can't remember. So, oh, I've forgotten. Okay, let me now remember that I'm God. I can't do that either. I'm still stuck. But somehow or other, that philosophy, that ideology makes sense to them because that disease is so strong in the heart. I can be God. I can be one with God. I don't have to serve God. I like that idea. No more suffering. Merge into the impersonal Brahman. It's very attractive to them because of their envy, the Mayavads. And just as the materialists are doing a great disservice for humanity, with their charisma, with their talent, with their intelligence, with all their facilities, they're aggravating the disease of conditioned souls. Everyone is already infected by the disease of material desire. And then the leaders of society, the influencers, the people with prominent positions, by and large, they're simply aggravating the disease. Occasionally you get someone in a high position, materially high position, who's offering spiritual benefit for souls. Rare. Typically they're simply making the situation worse. And then someone finally comes to the point of, I want spiritual life. But maybe they don't have the sufficient seriousness, sincerity. And here comes the impersonalist teacher and doing a great disservice to humanity, telling souls that are seeking spiritual life, you are one with God. You've just forgotten, you take up this practice and you merge. You again realize your oneness with God. They say that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta used to sometimes cross the road and grab the impersonalists. Why? Why are you misleading people? So all the possibilities are there. The question is asked, what do you want? And the question is being asked of us all the time as well, constantly. Every moment, every day, we're being asked the question, what do I want? What do I want? And the answer has to be consistent. Krishna, I want many things. I want many things. My heart is full of many, many desires. You please ignore all those desires. You please ignore those, and you simply acknowledge this one desire that I have. I want my position back. If it's okay with you, I would like to have my position back. And of course, it's okay with Krishna. He's inviting us. I'm your eternal servant. I'm not his eternal servant. I'm the eternal servant of his servants. That's my position as a soul. So this is the practice of Krishna consciousness. It's pure dharma. It's pure understanding of life, uncontaminated by karma and gyan. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye, mama janmani janmanishvare, bhavatad bhakira haituki twai. Dravida Prabhu's poeticized translation. Wealth and women, followers, the fruits of mundane piety, liberation from this world of limitless anxiety. For me, O Lord, these common goals have not the slightest worth. Let me serve you purely now and in each future birth. This is the pure prayer of the soul. There's no question of asking Krishna for anything material. Why would I do that? The lady is walking with her bundle of sticks. She's struggling. She's a little elderly. The bundle of sticks falls off her head. She's suffering so much, and she's a pious lady. She's praying, crying to the Lord. Help me, help. Vishnu appears before her. What can I do? Please help me to get this sticks back on my head. This is the foolishness of the soul in this world. Going to God, going to the Supreme Lord, and asking the Supreme Lord for some more suffering, for some more entanglement. Better than nothing. Better than nothing. At least the soul is approaching the Lord. That's good. That's pious. It's connection, especially if you approach Krishna. Then Krishna says, okay, now you've approached me. And then Krishna takes charge. He takes charge. He's Hari. He might give some things initially, give some material things initially, but Hari is the one who takes away. He takes away all the inauspicious things from the life of one who approaches him. That's guaranteed. In his own way, he has his own process. He has a recipe for every soul. Okay, you want material enjoyment? I grant you some material enjoyment. But I'll grant it to you in such a way that you might never want it again. You'll feel what it's like. You'll understand what it's like. There's nothing but Krishna's love. That's all there is. There's only Krishna's love. It sometimes doesn't feel like love. Sometimes it feels like extremely painful. Yeah? The patient goes to the doctor and he has some serious malady. Doctor, I'm sick. Doctor, yes, I've diagnosed the disease and this is the medicine. Extremely bitter medicine after the operation. And even the operation will be painful. And the after effects of the operation will be painful. And the medicine is bitter. This is what's required for that disease. But doctor, can't you just give me a different medicine? No, this is the medicine for you. So Krishna knows what the medicine is for every soul. He knows what the medicine is for us as well. And the mode of a devotee, the mood of a devotee is that I trust Krishna. I trust. Sometimes it's a little scary. Yeah? A little scary. My dear Lord Krishna, I want to be your eternal servant. And what Krishna is going to do can be a little scary. Because we have our own idea. We have our own idea about how to practice Krishna consciousness. I want my cushioned life and I want my Krishna consciousness. Yeah? This verse, Yasyaham anugranami harishye taddanam shanai. If Krishna is especially merciful to someone, he takes away everything. Special mercy. Who in this room wants that special mercy? Anyone? You want it, huh? Yeah. I'm afraid of that special mercy, honestly. That's scary, that special mercy. Yeah, it's scary. To have one's life turned upside down right? Sometimes it happens in the material world. One's life is going along a certain track and everything seems to be smooth, and I've got my little, bhakti thing happening. I'm chanting my rounds peacefully and nicely. Doing my practice, I have my seva. I like that life. Cushioned life, comfort zone. And Krishna says, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Because in that position, how will you cry? You can't cry in that. You can cry in any position, but typically we don't cry when we're in that position. We cry when we're under some distress. Then we cry to Krishna. And that crying is very healthy. That crying. Lolyam. This is the price to capture Krishna. The greed. I only want Krishna. So the circumstances of life Krishna will put us through are just for our benefit. And that's easy to understand theoretically. Theoretically, not a problem, right? And it's easy to preach to others. Someone comes to you and, how's it going? Oh, how's it going? I'm going through hell. And then preaching very nicely. Well, let me tell you something. Let me quote you 4 verses. They're at the tip of my tongue, ready for anyone who tells me about their challenges. Oh, it's a little bit of your karma coming back to you, Prabhu. A little bit of karma. Krishna's sparing you the bulk of your karma. This is Krishna's gift to you. It's Krishna's mercy to you. This person who's mistreating you is Krishna's grace. You've done so many bad things to others in the past. Look at it from that perspective, Prabhu. But when it happens to me, very hard to remember those verses. All those shlokas are gone. Then I'm blaming the world. This person's mistreating me. This person's cheating me. Krishna's managing the whole cosmos, all of existence, every blade of grass. But he's not in control of that person who's giving me a hard time. Everything else he's in control, but not that person. That person is independently causing me some problems. And my anger and my desire for revenge against that person and my fantasies about how that person will one day get his karma. Philosophy is easily forgotten when the challenges of life come our way. Therefore, we have to constantly be hearing, because there's a million ways, not a million, much more, in which the conditioned soul can lose perspective, lose track. It's not always just some obvious maya, It's not always some obvious maya. Just like when a person is going fishing. There's a different type of hook and bait for each type of fish. It's not that every hook and every bait is for every type of fish. So Maya, she has a bait for every soul in this world. She knows which bait this soul might be attracted to. Bharat Maharaj, the stage of Bhav, he was sitting deeply immersed in Krishna. The stage just before prema. Tears were flowing from his eyes. All the ecstatic symptoms were manifesting in his body. He was there. He was perfect, practically. And then Maya came to him. Maya came. Did she come in the form of an apsara with the tinkling ankle bells? No. He read about that story. He knew. That wasn't going to work. Maya came in a way was in the form of a little deer. Deer. So what would you do if a deer came and had, you would give it shelter? Who wouldn't give it shelter? It's evil not to give shelter to the deer. Right? And he was a Kshatriya previously. And very quickly, he lost perspective. He lost perspective. So Maya comes in so many ways. And the only solution is not to try to figure it out ourselves, because this world is a super confusing maze. And not only is it super confusing, the illusory energy. I mean, mind-boggling, but I'm not smart. I can't figure it out at all. I don't know what to do next. I don't know how to respond properly because my experience is through my own dirty heart. The spiritual master is removing the ignorance from our heart, but that's a gradual process. There's a lot of dirt covering the heart. So to see reality properly and to respond properly, that's not easy. Not at all. So what's the solution? The solution for the devotee is very simple. Very simple. In all circumstances, I just depend on Krishna. Depend on Krishna, take shelter of his lotus feet. And what's at Krishna's lotus feet? His devotees. His devotees are at his feet, serving him. So one has to be very careful, very appreciative, very respectful towards Krishna's devotees, because they're at his feet. So we're in the boat. We're crossing the ocean of material existence. By the grace of Srila Prabhupada, by the grace of the Vaishnavas, we're in the boat. Very fortunate. How many people? 8 billion people on the planet? I don't know. Who's counting? A lot of people. And then living entities unlimited, even on this planet. And out of them, who's in the boat? A few souls are in the boat. By what? By great good fortune. By great, great mercy. By the mercy of Gaur Nitai. They don't discriminate. They bring people onto the boat who have no qualification. So one should, when one is on a boat in the ocean, one shouldn't stand tall and proud with the nose up in the air. That's not really a good way to stand in a boat on the ocean. Because the ocean naturally has storms. And the waves start coming. So if one is standing tall and proud and thinking, I am a devotee. Not only am I a devotee, I am a special devotee. Better than the other devotees. My understanding. My service. And we have a long history in ISKCON of it. Pride. It's a great, great impediment. It's the opposite of what Lord Chaitanya has insisted on, recommended, told us to wear around our neck. Trinada pisuni chena taror iva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. That should be cultivated, constantly cultivated. If there's pride, then Krishna will say, well, I'm just going to have to help you with that pride. Krishna will smash that pride out of his love. Out of his love. So better to stay low in the boat, hold on tight, engage in the practice, and the storms will come. The storms of life will certainly come. Guaranteed. But if one is firmly situated in the boat, which means to the best of our ability, practicing Krishna consciousness. Attentively, consciously. What am I doing? I'm chanting the holy names of the Lord. I'm calling for Krishna. So I should do it to the best of my ability. I'm before the deities. I should take it seriously. I'm in front of God. What a blessing. The spiritual world is there. I don't see the spiritual world, but I can understand. Krishna's there. I was at Jagannath Temple yesterday, and I was standing in front of Simantini Devi and Lord Chaitanya, and I was taking darshan. Darshan, just hands folded, something happening. And then one elderly Mataji, she moves around in Mayapur. She was standing next to me. And she looked over at me and she told me, Lord Chaitanya is so beautiful. He's so beautiful. You can look at him for hours and hours. He's so, And then I looked, and I said, oh, she's so beautiful. I wasn't noticing that before. So we have the full facility. And we have to take advantage of that full facility. We have to honor the sacrifice that Srila Prabhupada made. I was taking a tour around Canadians, Americans, and we went up to Prabhupada's museum, and they were elderly people. All of them were in their 70s, maybe some in their 80s. And I said to them, this is our spiritual master. At the age of 70, he crossed the ocean on a cargo ship. And someone said, 70? I said, 70 years old. He didn't need to do it. He was in Vrindavan. Great, great, great sacrifice. So we should honor Prabhupada's sacrifice by doing our best to practice Krishna consciousness, to read his incredible purports, which clear the ignorance out of our hearts and minds. And we should try our best, to the best of our capacity, to execute his mission, which is to help souls. And helping souls means helping ourselves. The two things are super connected. You help souls, you're helping yourself. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. I think we have time for maybe one or two questions. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Haribol. Prabhu, you said the Mayavadis, they are envious, and because of their envy they want to merge and also mislead people. I wanted to ask if everybody who has envy in the heart are a Mayavadi, is a symptom of being Mayavadi?
Is everyone who has envy necessarily a Mayavadi? I'm trying to come up with some reference so I can speak authoritatively.
You could ask the audience. There's also very qualified people in the audience that they could speak up also.
What comes to my mind is that it's a conscious decision. It's a conscious decision. In this world, everyone has envy of the Lord. But if one consciously takes the decision that I'm going to follow this path, I'm going to decry the form of Krishna. No, Krishna is not God. Krishna's form is illusion. That is a different level of envy. In other words, if someone is presented with the reality that God is a person, and here is that person, and someone says, well, I'm not sure, it's an interesting notion, let me investigate it, or I'm neutral, or, oh, that kind of makes sense, right? They still might have envy of Krishna, but, they're not envious like the Mayavadis envious, who's saying, no, Krishna's not God. Krishna's illusion. And I'm going to propagate that idea that Krishna's not God. So their envy is in a special category. Would someone else in the room like to comment on that? Rameshwar Prabhu, thank you, please, if you could.
I feel I've read the first 9 cantos by listening to this class. So I want to really thank you because you've condensed so sublimely the description of our life in this material entanglement since forever. So first I want to thank you for this class. Hare Krishna. As far as envy, Srila Prabhupada sometimes describes it as soon as you want something for yourself, which is everything is Krishna's, everything is his property. The second you want to use something for your own purposes, that's a type of envy. You're envious that it's God's property and you're trying to take it for yourself. So that's another way of looking at envy. Frankly, the Mayavadis are much more advanced than regular karmis. And the karmis are on that level of, I just want to exploit and use material things for my sense gratification. They're on a lower level of envy, and they're all going to take birth in the animal species in their next life. Prabhupada said that in the, actually in the second canto, purports. Thank you again very much.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I think it's now 9:02, so sorry? This is the right clock? Okay. Okay. So how much time is there? 3 minutes? Okay, one more question.
Hare Krishna. Dhamma Pranam Prabhuji. Thank you so much. It's a struggle that I have, which is that despite the association and despite the desire to move forward in spiritual life,
Sorry, despite the what?
desire
To?
move forward,
Yeah.
there are limitations of this useless material body and the other aspects of material nature that make it very difficult, at least in my case. And because of that, and I'm looking for an excuse why I behave the way I do, I commit a lot of aparadhs. And I struggle. And because of habit, perhaps, I continue despite following another line of seriousness, perhaps, to some extent. And I find it very, very disturbing. And that brings me down at times. And because of this action, I'm suffering because I get reaction. How do I get out of this?
You're asking someone who has the same problem, so. Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, they are persons. They know very well who we are, what our challenges are, what our capacity is, how sincerely we're endeavoring, and they take that very seriously. So sometimes we're more condemning of ourselves than we need to be. We should, of course, endeavor. We should try to correct all the faults in our consciousness. We should try to serve purely. We should try to interact purely. So that's a very good platform to be on, to be conscious of, okay, you know, how am I thinking? How am I speaking? How am I interacting? Devotee is very self-reflective and is very interested in refining their consciousness. And Krishna is acknowledging those desires of the devotee, the effort of the devotee. And Krishna will help us. Krishna will help us overcome all of those bad tendencies of our mind and our tongue and our senses. He'll help us. As far as Vaishnava aparadh, it's something that we have to take a vow. We have to take a vow. We have to know this is a line. Weakness is one thing. Weakness due to conditioned nature, that's excusable. That's excusable. But Vaishnava aparadh has such a bad effect on the consciousness, on our heart, on our spiritual life. It's self-sabotage like nothing else. So we're endeavoring so much, chanting for years, doing seva, and then we're doing something which is spoiling all that. So one should take a vow. I don't want to hear criticism of Vaishnavas. I won't speak criticism of Vaishnavas. I'll be careful in my dealings with Vaishnavas because they're dear to Krishna. Krishna doesn't see them the same way I see them. Krishna sees the good. Krishna not only sees the good, but he magnifies the good in other souls. So we should try to see others as Krishna sees them, to the best of our ability. Hare Krishna. I think it's time. Thank you all so much. Hare